The Velkan Empire had ruled the outer regions of the galaxy for 3,000 years. Their ships were massive and powerful. Their soldiers were trained and disciplined. Every species they encountered either joined them willingly or was crushed beneath their military might. The Velkan believed themselves to be the strongest force in known space, and for 3 millennia, nothing had proven them wrong. Admiral Kreshtar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of 300 warships, all under his command. This was the Fourth Fleet, one of 12 such formations that protected Velkan interests across dozens of star systems. Today, they had a simple mission. A new species had been discovered in Sector 47, and the Velkan High Council wanted them brought into the Empire. The Admiral studied the intelligence reports about these newcomers. They called themselves humans, and they came from a small blue planet on the edge of an unremarkable star system. Initial scans showed their technology was primitive by Velkan standards. They used fusion reactors for power and basic kinetic weapons for defense. Their ships were slow, their stations were small, and their total military force numbered perhaps 50 vessels scattered across their territory. It should be a simple operation, Kreshtar told his second-in-command. We arrive. We demonstrate our strength. They surrender. Another species joins the Empire. His second-in-command nodded. This was standard procedure. The Velkan had performed this exact operation hundreds of times before. There was no reason to expect anything different. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of human space. Before them floated a single defense station, a small construct of metal and composite materials. It was perhaps 200 meters across, barely large enough to house a crew of 50 beings. The station was alone, with no fleet support, no reinforcements, nothing but empty space around it. Kreshtar opened a communication channel. Unknown species. You have entered territory claimed by the Velkan Empire. You will surrender your vessels and submit to our authority. Resistance will be met with overwhelming force. You have 10 standard minutes to respond. F. On the human station called Sentinel-9, Captain Lisa Morgan sat in the command chair and listened to the alien transmission. The translation software worked quickly, turning the alien words into English. She looked at the tactical display and counted the enemy ships. 300 of them, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Commander Jake Patterson stood beside her chair. We're seriously outmatched here, Captain. Should I send a message to Earth Command? Lisa shook her head. They already know. They've been tracking this fleet since it entered our sensor range 2 hours ago. She pulled up a classified file on her personal display. The file was labeled Project Thunderclap, and it contained specifications for a weapon system that had never been tested in actual combat. Earth Command authorized us to use it? Jake asked, reading over her shoulder. Field test authorization granted. Lisa confirmed. She felt her heart beating faster. The weapon was experimental, built on theories that were only 5 years old. The scientists were confident it would work. But confidence and certainty were two different things. The Velkan Admiral's voice came through the speakers again. You have 5 minutes remaining. We detect no movement from your station. Do you choose death over wisdom? Lisa made her decision. She touched the authorization panel and entered her command codes. Activate Thunderclap. Full power. Target the center of their formation. The station's reactor surged to maximum output. Deep in the station's weapons bay, a single missile launched from its tube. It was small by military standards, no larger than a fighter craft. It accelerated away from the station, moving toward the Velkan fleet at a speed that seemed almost lazy. On the Eternal Dominion, Kreshtar watched the human weapon approach. A single missile? This is their response? He felt disappointed. He had expected more from a new species. Some display of courage or clever tactics. Instead, they launched one outdated projectile. Shall I order point defense to destroy it? His weapons officer asked. No, Kreshtar said. Let it come. I want them to see their weapon fail against our shields. It will make the surrender easier. The missile crossed half the distance between the station and the fleet. Then, something happened that Kreshtar did not expect. The single projectile broke apart into 12 separate warheads. Each warhead contained a nuclear device, but not the kind designed to create a simple explosion. These were nuclear-pumped gamma-ray lasers, weapons that converted the energy of a nuclear detonation into focused beams of the most dangerous radiation in the universe. The 12 warheads detonated simultaneously. 12 beams of concentrated gamma radiation lanced out across space, each one targeting a different Velkan capital ship. The beams moved at the speed of light, giving no warning and no chance to evade. They struck the Velkan shields and simply passed through them, as if the shields did not exist. The radiation cut into the hulls of the ships, tearing apart molecular bonds and reducing solid metal to vapor. In 17 seconds, 40 Velkan warships vanished from the tactical display. They did not explode dramatically. They simply came apart, their structures failing at a fundamental level. Thousands of Velkan crew members died without understanding what had killed them. Kreshtar stared at his displays in shock. His hands gripped the arms of his command chair so tightly that his claws scraped the metal. What just happened? What did they do? His sensor officer frantically worked his console. Admiral, I don't know. The energy signatures don't match anything in our database. It's like they weaponized stellar radiation somehow. Admiral. I weaponized. Another officer shouted. Admiral, the station is powering up another weapon. Same energy signature. Kreshtar did not hesitate. All ships, retreat immediately. Jump to faster than light speed on my mark. We leave now. The Velkan fleet scattered. Ships that had maintained perfect military formation moments before now fled in every direction. They activated their faster-than-light drives and vanished from human space, leaving behind only debris and confused sensor readings. On Sentinel-9, Lisa watched the alien fleet disappear. The station's crew erupted in cheers. The Velkan High Council met in their grand chamber on the capital world of Velkareth. The room was ancient, built from stone that had witnessed 3,000 years of imperial decisions. 12 council members sat in elevated seats, looking down at Admiral Kreshtar as he stood in the center of the chamber. You retreated, Councillor Vrenshaw said. Her voice was cold and sharp. You commanded 300 warships, and you fled from a single small station. Kreshtar kept his composure, though anger burned inside him. Councillor, I watched 40 capital ships destroyed in less than 20 seconds. The humans possess weapon technology that we do not understand. Their attack passed through our shields, as if they were not there. One attack, Vrenshaw replied. One clever weapon does not make them a significant threat. Every species we encounter has some unique trick. We adapt, and we overcome. Chief Scientist Thelmore stood from his seat. He was older than most council members, and his scales had faded to a pale gray. Counselor, I must object. I have reviewed the sensor data from Admiral Kreshtar's fleet. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our records. I request time to study this data before we commit more forces. Vrenshaw dismissed his concern with a wave of her hand. Time is a luxury we cannot afford. If we show weakness now, our subject species will see it. Rebellion will spread. No. We must respond with greater force. We will send the Second Fleet, 600 ships. We will use dispersed formations, so no single weapon can destroy multiple vessels. The humans will learn that their trick will not work twice. The council voted. Thelmore was the only member who voted against immediate military action. The decision was made. The Second Fleet would launch within 10 days. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Alan Cooper walked through a secure facility buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The facility had no official name on any government records. The people who worked there simply called it the Vault. It was where humanity kept its most dangerous secrets. Director Nina Walsh met him in a conference room. She was younger than Alan, but her eyes held the weight of someone who had seen too much classified information. She pulled up a holographic display that showed the recent battle at Sentinel-9. Thunderclap performed exactly as expected, Nina said. 40 confirmed kills. 0 friendly losses. Captain Morgan and her crew followed procedures perfectly. Alan studied the display. And the aliens retreated immediately. They didn't try to adapt, didn't try to analyze the weapon. They just ran. Amtu. Though. Amtu. Which tells us something important. About their military doctrine, Nina replied. They're not used to encountering serious resistance. 3,000 years of easy victories have made them predictable. Alan sat down and looked at Nina carefully. Tell me about Warborn Protocol. Nina's expression became serious. She pulled up a new display. This one showing a map of human space. Scattered throughout the map were thousands of small dots, each one color-coded. Warborn Protocol has been operational for 6 months. We have 4,000 automated defense platforms positioned throughout our territory. Each platform carries multiple weapon systems, some conventional, some experimental. 4,000 platforms, Alan repeated. And we only used one weapon from one platform. At Sentinel-9, Thunderclap was our oldest design, Nina explained. It's 5-year-old technology. We needed to field test it, yes. But more importantly, we needed to see how the aliens fight. We needed to observe their formations, their reaction times, their tactical decisions. You don't show your full hand in the first round of play, General. Alan understood, but the implications still disturbed him. So, we let them attack us. We let them think they had the advantage. We used inferior weapons on purpose. We gathered data, Nina corrected. Real combat data. We now know their ship compositions, their shield frequencies, their communication protocols. When they return, and they will return, we'll be ready. Alan stood and walked to the holographic display. He touched one of the dots, and it expanded to show detailed specifications. The weapon system was called a gravity well projector, capable of creating localized gravitational fields strong enough to crush a ship. These platforms, they can operate independently, fully autonomous, Nina confirmed. They can identify targets, assess threats, and engage without human authorization. But they're also networked. If one platform learns something, all platforms learn it within seconds. So they're learning computers. They're weapons that get smarter with every engagement, Nina said. The aliens will adapt their tactics, and our platforms will adapt faster. Alan felt the weight of what they had created. Humanity had been in space for only 70 years, but in that time, they had built a defensive network that could fight and learn on its own. They had done it because of a simple assumption, one that had guided human space policy since the first colony ship left Earth. The assumption was called the Fermi Protocol, named after an old scientist who had asked a famous question. If the universe was full of life, where was everyone? Why was space so silent? The protocol's answer was dark but logical. Space was silent because it was dangerous. Any species that survived long enough to spread across the stars was probably aggressive, probably hostile, and probably very good at warfare. So humanity had prepared. They had built their entire space infrastructure with one goal in mind. When they met aliens, and those aliens were hostile, humanity would survive. When will the aliens return? Alan asked. Nina checked her intelligence reports. Our long-range sensors detected increased activity in the region where their fleet retreated. We estimate they'll send a larger force within 2 weeks, probably double the size of the first attack. And we'll use Warborn Protocol? At partial capacity, Nina said. Maybe 30%. We still need more data. We need to see how they adapt to different weapon types. We need to understand their strategic thinking. Alan looked at her. You're talking about letting more of them die just so we can study them. I'm talking about making sure that when we commit to full-scale warfare, we have every possible advantage, Nina replied. General, these aliens ruled their region of space for 3,000 years. They have more ships, more soldiers, more resources than we do. Our only advantage is that they don't know what we're capable of. Let's keep it that way as long as possible. Alan nodded slowly. He understood the logic, even if he did not like it. War was not about fairness or honofleet. Commander Zeshral studied the tactical data from the first battle carefully. He had spent days analyzing every second of the engagement, examining how the human weapon had destroyed 40 Velkan ships. He believed he understood their mistake. The First Fleet had maintained tight formation, making themselves an easy target for area effect weapons. His fleet would not make the same error. The Second Fleet consisted of 600 warships, twice the size of the force that had retreated, but numbers alone would not guarantee victory. Zeshral had implemented new tactical protocols. His ships would maintain maximum distance from each other, spreading out across thousands of kilometers. They would approach from multiple vectors, making it impossible for a single weapon to target them all. Their shields had been recalibrated to handle different radiation frequencies. "We are ready," Zeshral told his officers. "The humans surprised us once. They will not do so again." The fleet entered human space and approached Sentinel-9. The station was still there, still alone, still seemingly vulnerable. But Zeshral was not fooled by appearances. He ordered his ships into the dispersed formation they had practiced. On Sentinel-9, Captain Ryan Foster watched the alien fleet arrive. He had replaced Lisa Morgan as station commander 2 weeks earlier. Beside him stood Lieutenant Commander Amy Price, who had studied every detail of the first engagement. "They learned from last time," Amy observed. "Look at that formation. They're staying far apart." Ryan nodded. He opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "General Cooper, the aliens have returned. 600 ships, dispersed formation. Requesting authorization to engage." General Cooper's voice came through clearly. "Authorization granted, Captain. Activate Warborn Protocol. 30% capacity only." Ryan entered his command codes. Around Sentinel-9, in positions scattered throughout human space, automated defense platforms came online. Their sensor systems activated, their weapons charged, their artificial intelligence networks connected and began sharing data. The platforms had been waiting in silence, invisible to Velkan sensors. They were small, no larger than a shuttlecraft, and their hulls were coated with materials that absorbed sensor beams. The Velkan had been looking for large military installations or obvious weapons. They had not been looking for thousands of small autonomous units. Commander Zeshral ordered the attack. His ships launched long-range missiles, hundreds of them, all targeting the human station. The missiles accelerated across the distance, and Zeshral waited to see how the humans would respond. The defense platforms engaged point defense systems. Laser batteries tracked the incoming missiles and destroyed them one by one. It seemed conventional, almost primitive. Zeshral felt encouraged. Perhaps the humans had used their one special weapon and had nothing else to show. "All ships, advance," he ordered. That was when the platforms revealed their true capabilities. The first wave of platforms activated gravity well projectors. Invisible fields of intense gravitational force reached out across space, grabbing Velkan ships and pulling them out of their carefully planned formation. 2 ships collided, their hulls crumpling. 3 more were pulled together so tightly that their shields interfered with each other and failed. Zeshral watched in horror as his perfect formation collapsed into chaos. Evasive maneuvers, all ships, emergency thrust. The second wave of platforms fired. But these were not missiles or energy weapons. They were relativistic kill vehicles. Simple tungsten rods accelerated to 98% of light speed. At that velocity, the rods carried more kinetic energy than a nuclear weapon. They struck Vulcan ships and passed completely through them, leaving perfectly circular holes that vented atmosphere and crew into space. The third wave introduced something new. Neural disruptors, weapons that targeted biological nervous systems. The Vulcan crews suddenly felt overwhelming pain as their neural pathways overloaded. Ships drifted out of control as their crews collapsed at their stations. Zeshral gripped his command chair and fought through the pain. He could see his fleet dying around him. In less than 30 minutes, they had lost 200 ships, and the humans were not even using their full force. He could see on sensors that many of the defense platforms had not fired at all. "This is not possible," his second officer whispered. "How do they have so many weapons?" The intelligence reports said they were a minor species. Zeshral understood something then. Something that filled him with dread. The humans had not shown their full strength in the first battle. They had used one weapon, let the Vulcans see it, and let them believe that was all humans had. But it had been a trick. A way to make the Vulcan feel confident enough to return. "They were testing us," Zeshral said aloud. "The first battle was not about defense. It was about gathering information about how we fight." He looked at his tactical display and saw the pattern. The human weapons were firing in sequence, rotating through different types. One ship would be destroyed by gravity wells, another by kinetic projectiles, a third by neural disruptors. They were not just fighting, they were experimenting, learning which weapons worked best against Vulcan defenses. "All ships, retreat immediately," Zeshral ordered. "Full emergency jump. Leave the dead. We must warn the Council." The remaining Vulcan ships fled. Out of 600 warships, only 12 escaped, and most of those were severely damaged. Zeshral's own flagship was missing its port engine cluster and had 30 dead crew members. On Sentinel-9, Ryan and Amy watched the aliens retreat again. The station's crew was quiet this time. There was no celebration, only a grim understanding of what they had witnessed. "We just killed thousands of them," Amy said softly. Ryan nodded. He felt no satisfaction in the victory. The aliens had attacked them. True. But he wondered if the aliens had understood what they were facing. Had they known that humans were this dangerous? Had they expected this level of resistance? General Cooper's voice came through the communication channel. "Excellent work, Captain. Defense platforms performed within expected parameters. We have gathered extensive tactical data." General," Ryan said carefully. "They figured it out. At the end, I heard their commander. He realized we were testing weapons on them." There was a pause before Cooper responded. "Then they will take us more seriously from now on. That is acceptable. We have what we need." Chief Scientist Thelmore worked in his laboratory deep beneath the Vulcan capital. Around him, holographic displays showed data from both battles with the humans. He had spent weeks analyzing every sensor reading, every energy signature, every tactical movement. What he had discovered kept him awake at night. The Vulcan High Council had called an emergency session. Every military commander, every chief scientist, every intelligence officer had been summoned. The Empire was preparing for total war against humanity. Every fleet was being mobilized. Every ship was being armed. Every soldier was being prepared for deployment. But Thelmore had information that would change everything. He had requested permission to present his findings before the Council voted on the final attack plan. Councillor Vrenshaw had tried to deny his request, but other council members overruled her. They wanted to hear what the old scientist had discovered. Thelmore entered the council chamber carrying a data module. He connected it to the main display system, and images appeared on the walls around them. Images of Earth. Images of human cities. Images of orbital facilities. "Members of the Council," Thelmore began, "I must share with you what our intelligence division has finally discovered about humanity." Councillor Vrenshaw interrupted. "We know about the humans. They have clever weapons. They surprised us, but we are prepared now. Our fleets will overwhelm them. Counselor, please allow me to finish, Thelmore said quietly. What I must tell you will change your understanding of this conflict. He activated the first display. It showed Earth from orbit, a beautiful blue world covered in oceans and continents. But as the image zoomed in, details became clear. Cities that sparkled with technology, transportation networks that covered entire continents, industrial facilities that operated on a scale the Velkin had rarely seen. This is the human homeworld, Thelmore explained. Note the level of industrial development. The humans achieved faster than light travel only 70 years ago. In that short time, they have built infrastructure that rivals species who have had centuries to develop. An intelligence officer named Chartel stood. She was young but had proven herself skilled at gathering information. Chief Scientist, I have additional findings that support your conclusions. My team successfully penetrated human communication networks. We intercepted military transmissions between Earth Command and their president. Chartel activated an audio recording. The council chamber, filled with translated voices, speaking in English. General Cooper's voice came first. Madam President? The second engagement was successful. Warborne protocol performed within acceptable parameters. We have sufficient combat data now. Should we reveal our full capabilities? A woman's voice responded. President Claire Bennett, according to the translation overlay. Not yet, General. We have only deployed defensive measures. Let us see if they push further before we show them what our offensive doctrine looks like. The recording ended. The council chamber was silent. Finally, Councillor Vrenshaw spoke. What does this mean? Defensive measures? Everything they used was defensive? Thelmore nodded gravely. Yes, Counselor. The humans have not attacked a single Velkin world. They have not sent ships into our territory. They have not made any aggressive moves beyond defending their own space. Everything we have encountered has been their defensive systems only. He brought up new data on the displays. Our intelligence has detected unusual construction activity in human space. They are building ships. Not dozens or hundreds, but thousands. These are not defensive platforms. These are warships, massive vessels that dwarf our dreadnoughts. Another council member stood. How is this possible? They are a young species. Where did they get this technology? Thelmore pulled up comparative analysis charts. That is what disturbed me most. Human technological advancement does not follow normal patterns. Most species develop space travel, then slowly expand, then gradually build military capabilities over centuries. Humans did everything simultaneously. They developed faster than light travel and weapon systems at the same time. Why? He activated another file, this one showing human documents his intelligence agents had obtained. We found references to something called the Fermi Protocol in classified human military databases. This protocol is the foundation of human space policy. It is based on a question asked by one of their early scientists. If life is common in the universe, why had humans never detected any signals from other civilizations? Thelmore let that question hang in the air before continuing. The Fermi Protocol assumes the answer is that space is dangerous, that any species capable of interstellar travel is likely hostile. That survival requires being prepared for war before leaving your home system. Chartel added more information. The humans call it worst-case scenario planning. They assume every first contact will be hostile. They assume every alien species will try to conquer or destroy them. So they built their entire space civilization around one goal, being ready to fight from day one. Councillor Vrenshaw shook her head. This is paranoid thinking. Most species seek peaceful coexistence. Most species did not develop on a world like Earth, Thelmore replied. He showed images of human history. Wars that had consumed entire continents. Weapons that could destroy cities in single strikes. Conflicts that had killed millions of humans. Humanity has been fighting wars among themselves for their entire recorded history. They understand warfare in ways we do not. They have concepts like total war, where an entire civilization mobilizes for complete destruction of their enemy. He pulled up more data. Look at their nuclear weapons. They developed them 75 years ago. They used them in warfare against themselves. The weapons nearly destroyed their own civilization, but they survived, learned from the experience, and continued developing even more dangerous weapons. They weaponized their own near extinction. End quote. Admiral Kreshtar, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Chief Scientist, what are you saying? That we should retreat? That we should surrender? I am saying we should understand what we face, Thelmore replied. The humans are not like other species. They do not seek dominance or glory. They seek survival through overwhelming force. Every weapon they have shown us was experimental, tested on us to gather data. They have been learning from us while we learned nothing from them. Chartel activated her final piece of evidence. This morning, we intercepted another transmission. Captain Lisa Morgan contacted General Cooper with a question. The recording played. Lisa's voice was clear and professional. General, when does the defensive phase end? When do we begin the counteroffensive? Cooper's response was matter-of-fact and cold. 30 days, Captain. We have gathered enough data. The Velkin High Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Council members argued loudly with each other. Military commanders shouted about honor and strength. Intelligence officers presented conflicting reports. Everyone had an opinion about what should be done regarding humanity, but nobody could agree. Councillor Vrenshaw stood and demanded silence. When the chamber finally quieted, she spoke with barely controlled fury. We cannot show weakness. The Empire has ruled for 3,000 years. We have conquered hundreds of species. We cannot let one young species frighten us into retreat. 400 ships, Admiral Kreshtar said quietly. That is not a small number, Counselor. That is an entire regional fleet destroyed in 2 engagements. Then we send more ships, Vrenshaw insisted. We send everything. Every fleet. Every vessel. Every soldier we have. We strike at their homeworld directly. We show them that the Velkin Empire does not accept defeat. Thelmore shook his head. Counselor, you are not listening. The humans want us to attack. They are ready for it. They have been ready for it since before they met us. Every move we make, they have already planned a response. Then what do you suggest? Vrenshaw demanded. That we surrender? That we admit to all our subject species that humans are stronger than us? I suggest we seek peace while we still can, Thelmore said. We acknowledge that humanity controls their region of space, and we negotiate a border agreement. It is not surrender. It is recognizing reality. Vrenshaw looked at him with disgust. You would have us bow to a species that has existed in space for barely 70 years? I would have us survive, Thelmore replied. The council debated for hours. Some members agreed with Vrenshaw and wanted total war. Others sided with Thelmore and argued for peace negotiations. The military commanders were split, with older officers urging caution and younger officers demanding action. Finally, a vote was called. The question was simple. Should the Velkin Empire launch a full-scale assault on human space, or should they attempt to negotiate peace? The vote was close, but Vrenshaw's faction won by a single vote. The Empire would mobilize every available ship and strike at Earth itself. It would be the largest military operation in Velkin history. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Cooper stood in a command center watching displays that showed ship production across human space. Automated shipyards worked around the clock, building vessels from the Avalanche fleet. Each ship was larger than anything humanity had built before, equipped with weapons that had never been used in combat. Director Nina Walsh joined him at the display. The Velkin have made their decision. Our intelligence assets report they are mobilizing their entire military. Every fleet, every ship. They are planning to strike at Earth directly. Expected, Cooper said. Pride makes people predictable. How long until they arrive? 3 weeks, maybe 4. Their ships are slower than ours. They will need time to coordinate such a large force. Cooper nodded. And Avalanche? Ready to launch in 10 days, Nina confirmed. 4,000 warships, all equipped with our latest offensive systems. Once they launch, they will reach Vulcan space before the Vulcan fleet reaches Earth. Cooper studied the display showing the Avalanche fleet. Each ship represented humanity's commitment to the Fermi Protocol. Every lesson learned from human history had been incorporated into their design. They were not just warships. They were the result of 70 years of planning for this exact scenario. Do you ever wonder if we are the bad guys in this story? Cooper asked quietly. Nina considered the question. The Vulcan came to our space and demanded our surrender. They threatened us with destruction if we did not submit. They attacked us twice. How does that make us the bad guys? We let them attack, Cooper said. We had the capability to destroy their fleets completely. But we held back. We used them as test subjects for our weapons. We let their people die, just so we could gather data. We defended ourselves, Nina countered. And yes, we learned from those engagements. That is what intelligent species do. They learn and adapt. The Vulcan had 3,000 years to learn those lessons. Humanity learned them in 70. Cooper did not respond. He understood Nina's logic, but he also understood that what they were about to do would change humanity forever. They were not just defending themselves anymore. They were about to launch an offensive that would either end the war or escalate it beyond anything either side had imagined. President Claire Bennett entered the command center. She had flown in from the capital specifically for this briefing. Cooper and Nina both stood at attention. At ease, Bennett said. She looked at the displays showing the Avalanche fleet. General Cooper, Director Walsh, I want to understand exactly what we are about to do. Explain Project Avalanche to me in simple terms. Cooper pulled up a tactical map. Madam President, Avalanche is a preemptive strike against Vulcan military infrastructure. Our fleet will enter Vulcan space and target their shipyards, weapons facilities, and command centers. We will not target civilian populations or non-military installations. How many casualties are we expecting? Bennett asked. Nina answered. Vulcan military casualties will be significant. Tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands. Civilian casualties should be minimal if we execute the operation as planned. Bennett was quiet for a moment. And if we do not launch Avalanche? They will come with everything they have, Cooper said. Every ship in their empire. Our defensive platforms can destroy most of their fleet. But some will get through. Earth will be bombarded. Our colonies will be attacked. Human casualties could number in the millions. So our choice is to kill them on their worlds or let them kill us on ours, Bennett said. That is the nature of war, Madam President, Nina replied. Neither side wants to lose, so one side must win decisively enough that the other accepts defeat. Bennett walked closer to the display showing Earth. Her home. The home of 8 billion humans who trusted her to keep them safe. When I took this office, I swore to protect humanity. I never imagined that would mean ordering the deaths of thousands of beings we barely know. They made their choice when they threatened us, Cooper said. We are simply responding to that threat. The Avalanche fleet launched from Earth orbit exactly on schedule. 4,000 warships activated their faster-than-light drives and disappeared into the darkness between stars. It was the largest military fleet humanity had ever assembled, and every ship was crewed by volunteers who understood they might not return. Captain Lisa Morgan commanded the lead ship, the Defiance. She had requested a combat assignment after her experience at Sentinel-9, and General Cooper had approved. Now she sat in the captain's chair watching her crew work efficiently at their stations. Behind Defiance, 3,999. Other ships maintained perfect formation. All ships report ready, Commander Jake Patterson said from his station. He had also volunteered for the offensive, refusing to stay behind while others went into combat. Lisa opened a fleet-wide channel. This is Captain Morgan to all ships. We are entering Vulcan space in 30 seconds. Remember your training. Remember your targeting protocols. We are here to end this war, not to commit genocide. Military targets only. Minimize civilian casualties. Make every shot count. Responses came back from other captains, all confirming their orders. Lisa felt the weight of what they were about to do. Thousands of Vulcan would die in the next few hours, but thousands more humans would live because of it. Jump complete, the navigation officer announced. We are in Vulcan space. The fleet appeared in reality near a major Vulcan shipyard facility. The station was massive, capable of constructing a dozen capital ships simultaneously. Vulcan workers and engineers went about their duties, unaware that their enemy had just arrived in their home territory. Lisa gave the order she had been dreading. All ships, weapons free, engage targets. The human fleet opened fire. Advanced missiles streaked across space, targeting the shipyard's structural supports and reactor systems. The weapons had been programmed to avoid areas where workers congregated. Automated warnings were broadcast in Vulcan language, giving people time to reach escape pods. The shipyard began breaking apart. Secondary explosions rippled through its structure as fuel reserves ignited. Escape pods launched from every section, carrying Vulcan workers to safety. The human ships tracked each pod and did not fire on them. Within 20 minutes, the shipyard was destroyed. No new Vulcan warships would be built there. But the human fleet did not celebrate. They immediately jumped to the next target. On Velkareth, the Vulcan capital world, Admiral Kreshtar watched the disaster unfold on tactical displays. He stood in the military command center alongside other senior officers, all of them staring in disbelief at what they were seeing. 4,000 ships, Kreshtar said. They deployed 4,000 warships into our territory. How did we not detect their construction? How did we not know they had this capability? A junior officer checked the sensor feeds. Admiral, the ships are using stealth technology we have never encountered. They appear on sensors only when they want to be seen, and their weapons, they are far more advanced than what they used in defense. Counselor Vren Shah entered the command center. She looked furious and frightened at the same time. This is impossible. They are attacking us? We have not even reached their space yet. Our fleet is still assembling. They came to us instead, Kreshtar said. They struck first, before we could organize our attack. This is what the humans call a preemptive strike. Reports flooded in from across Vulcan space. Human ships appeared at shipyards, weapons facilities, military academies, and command stations. Every major military installation in the Empire was under attack simultaneously. The humans had planned this operation with precision that terrified the Vulcan officers. Chief Scientist Thelmore arrived at the command center. He had been summoned urgently when the attacks began. He studied the tactical displays and saw the pattern immediately. They are dismantling our military infrastructure, Thelmore explained. Not our cities, not our colonies, not our civilian installations. Only our ability to make war. They are removing our capacity to threaten them. We must fight back, Vrenshaw insisted. Order all defensive fleets to engage the human ships. Kreshtar shook his head. With what? Half our ships are still in dock, undergoing repairs from previous battles. The other half are scattered across a dozen systems. The humans chose their timing perfectly. We cannot mount an effective defense. Our way. Intelligence Officer Chartel brought new data to the displays. Council members, I have intercepted human communications. They are broadcasting warnings before each attack. They are giving our people time to evacuate. Why would they do that? Vrenshaw asked. If they want to destroy us, why show mercy? Thelmore understood. Because they are not trying to commit genocide. They are trying to end the war. They want us to surrender, not to die. This is a demonstration of power, combined with restraint. They are showing us they could kill millions but choose not to. Over the next 8 hours, the human fleet systematically destroyed every major military facility in Vulcan space. Shipyards burned. Weapons factories exploded. Command centers went dark. The Vulcan Empire's ability to wage war was being dismantled, piece by piece. But the human ships never fired on civilian targets. They broadcast warnings. They waited for evacuations. They showed a level of restraint that confused the Vulcan, who had expected total destruction. Finally, a message came through on all Vulcan communication channels. It was from President Claire Bennett herself, speaking directly to the Vulcan High Council. Members of the Vulcan Council. This is President Bennett of Earth. As you can see, humanity has the capability to destroy your military infrastructure completely. We have chosen to limit civilian casualties out of respect for sentient life. But make no mistake, we will defend ourselves by any means necessary. Bennett paused before continuing. We did not want this war. You came to our space and demanded our surrender. You attacked us when we refused. We defended ourselves and hoped you would recognize our strength and seek peace. Instead, you chose to escalate. So we have ended your ability to threaten us. Another pause. You have a choice now. Accept peace on equal terms, or watch as we continue to dismantle your empire piece by piece. We take no joy in this destruction. We seek only security for our people. The decision is yours. Ever. X. The message ended. The Vulcan High Council sat in stunned silence. Around them, their military command center showed the extent of the damage. Nearly 70% of their military infrastructure had been destroyed in a single day. Their fleets were scattered and powerless. Their shipyards were gone. Councillor Vren Shah looked at the displays with horror. You are telling us that everything we faced before, all those defensive weapons, all that death, that was only their opening move? Thelmore nodded slowly. Not their opening move, Councillor. Their intelligence-gathering phase. This, what we are seeing now, this is their opening move, and they still have not shown us their full strength. Admiral Kreshtar pulled up long-range sensor data. What he saw made his blood cold. Behind the human attack fleet, more ships were being built. Automated construction platforms worked continuously, building vessels even as the current fleet fought. Humanity had not committed all their resources to this attack. They had held back, keeping reserves in case the Vulcans still refused to surrender. They could keep this going indefinitely, Kreshtar said. They have the industrial capacity to replace losses faster than we can. And they are still learning, still adapting, still improving. Every engagement makes them stronger while making us weaker. The Council voted again. This time, the result was unanimous. The Vulcan Empire requested peace negotiations with humanity. They agreed to recognize human territorial sovereignty and establish formal diplomatic relations. They accepted that humanity was not a species to be conquered or controlled. It took 6 more days to finalize the peace treaty. The humans demanded reasonable terms. They wanted secure borders, mutual defense agreements, and technology-sharing protocols. They did not demand tribute or subjugation. They simply wanted to be left alone, to develop in peace. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the Bridge of Defiance as the treaty was signed. Her crew watched the ceremony on displays throughout the ship. When it was done, when the war was officially over, Lisa felt exhausted relief. Jake approached her. Lisa nodded. We survived by being more dangerous than anything else in space. Is that something to celebrate? Live. 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 Live, live. It is something to live with, Jake replied. We did what we had to do. Maybe now we can focus on building, rather than fighting. The human fleet began the long journey home. Behind them, Vulcan space struggled to recover from the devastation. But humanity had shown them something important. That a young species could be more dangerous than ancient empires if they prepared correctly, if they assumed the worst and built accordingly. The Fermi Protocol had been proven correct in the most terrible way. The universe was dangerous, and survival required being ready to fight from the moment you reached for the stars. Humanity had reached for the stars with weapons in their hands, and the galaxy would never forget it. Bennett turned to face them. I want every effort made to minimize casualties. I want warnings sent to civilian populations. I want every target verified as military. If we must do this, we will do it as humanely as possible. Is that understood? Yes, Madam President, Cooper and Nina said together. Bennett authorized Project Avalanche with her command codes. The orders were transmitted instantly to every ship in the fleet. Crews that had been on standby moved to active status. Weapons were armed. Navigation systems plotted courses to Vulcan space. In shipyards across human territory, the final vessels of the Avalanche fleet completed their construction. They were sleek and deadly, built with one purpose: to show the Vulcan Empire what humanity was truly capable of when they stopped holding back. The countdown had begun. In 10 days, humanity would launch its first offensive military operation against an alien species. The Fermi Protocol, conceived decades ago as a defensive philosophy, was about to prove its worth in the most terrible way possible. On their fleet compositions, tactics, and technology, Project Avalanche is ready. It is time to show them what happens when humans stop defending and start attacking. The recording ended. The council chamber erupted in noise as every member began speaking at once. Thelmore waited for silence before delivering his final conclusion. Members of the council, we have lost 400 ships in 2 engagements. The humans consider those engagements to be data-gathering exercises. They have not yet begun their actual military operations. When they do, we will face an enemy who has studied everything about us while revealing almost nothing about themselves. He paused and looked at each council member. We are not prepared for this kind of warfare. What happens next, sir? Next, Captain, we wait and see what they do. If they're smart, they'll seek peace. If they're proud, they'll escalate. Either way, we'll be ready. After the communication ended, Amy turned to Ryan. Do you think they'll come back? Ryan looked at the debris field where hundreds of alien ships had been destroyed. They've lost nearly 400 ships in 2 battles. If they have any sense, they'll reconsider this conflict. No. But even as he said it, Ryan doubted his own words. The aliens had ruled space for 3,000 years. They were used to winning, used to being the strongest force in any conflict. Pride like that did not bend easily, and humanity had just humiliated them twice. Whatever came next, Ryan knew it would be worse than what had come before. It was about survival, and humanity intended to survive. I'll inform the President, Alan said. When their second fleet arrives, Warborn Protocol will engage at 30% capacity. We'll make them think they're seeing our full strength. We can fleet. Offers lock signed. OPSI did. Offers lock signed. Alan said. Offers lock signed. Nina smiled, but there was no warmth in it. And when they finally realize the truth, it will be far too late for them to do anything about it. She felt no celebration. She looked at Jake and saw her own concerns reflected in his eyes. We just made first contact with an alien species, Jake said quietly. And we killed thousands of them. Lisa nodded. We defended ourselves. They threatened us. But even as she said the words, she wondered what would come next. The aliens had fled, but they would return. They would bring more ships, better weapons, and they would be angry. She opened a secure channel to Earth Command. General Cooper, this is Sentinel-9. Project Thunderclap was successful. Enemy fleet has retreated, awaiting further orders. The response came quickly. Good work, Captain. Return to Earth for debriefing. And Lisa, prepare yourself. That wasn't the end of anything. That was just the beginning.